Good morning, everybody. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We acknowledge the land we are on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will be making their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you're called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will temporarily be upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time, and at all other times, the video will be disabled and you'll be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with a written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. People attending in person today who wish to receive a copy of the committee may do so by filling out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Housing and Affairs, specified persons, and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the committee. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision notice. Okay, for the hearing today, I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. When an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. Each speaker, including the agent or applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. Any presentation or other material you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and make a presentation to the committee on the application. Again, please note the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we call on people in the gallery and then those online through participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will have the opportunity to rebut those remarks that were brought up by the other speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. All right, before we get to the first item, we have some minutes. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, I believe that we have to close.
Thank you. Are we doing minutes or conflicts first?
Let's do adopt our minutes. We have a...
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Today we have May 29, 2020, present was Mr. Allison, Mr. Bartolo, Mr. Cubo, and Mr. Nipfeld.
All right, do I have a motion to adopt those minutes? Yes, Mr. Kubo. Do I have a seconder? Okay, Mr. Marziari, all in favor? That's unanimous. All right, those minutes are adopted. The motion is approved. We have some files that need to be closed as well.
Not right now, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. Any declarations of interest or conflicts in the morning slot? I'm seeing none. All right. Okay, we have any deferral requests this morning in our morning time slot?
3, Mr. Chair, we have one in a 10 a.m. time slot. It's item number 9, 3736 to 3750 Bathurst.
Thank you. Item number 9, 3736 to 3750 Bathurst Street and 11 to 15 Richelieu Road. The purpose of this application is to increase the height and number of stories of the building and increase the podium height and height of the mechanical penthouse. There are a number of variances, including building height, number of stories, and height projection of mechanical equipment. On file, material from the applicant, memo from transportation, as well as 2 reports from community planning. We have our agent or applicant with us. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. My name is Mona Al-Sharari. I'm a senior planner at Bowes Fields Incorporated, and we're located at 3 Church Street in the city of Toronto.
All right. My understanding is you are requesting a deferral on this matter.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we're requesting a deferral just to address some of the comments that have been provided in staff in their enclosed staff report. So we'd like to work with them to address their concerns.
All right. Very well. Any questions? All right. We have another speaker online for this item, or anybody here, I should say, to speak to this item first before we go to those online. Nobody? Staff, anybody online? No one online. Fantastic. All right, let's take this into committee. Yes, Mr. Kubu.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to put forward a motion to accept the request to defer this application to allow the applicant some time to continue conversation with the planning staff.
All right, second by Ms. Casson, all in favor? All right, that is unanimous. The motion carries, the application is deferred.
Thank you very much.
All right, that is the only item being deferred in our morning slot. So let's get started with item number 1, 14 Maddock Drive. The purpose of the application is to construct a 1-story rear addition and rear terrace to the existing dwelling. We have 4 variances before us: lot coverage, building length, rear yard setback, and encroachment of a terrace into a rear yard setback. On file, material from the applicant, a report from community planning, and 4 form letters in support. We have our agent with us.
Yeah, Sarah Ifra, agent for the applicant.
Good morning.
Good morning. And the address is 313 Hillhurst Boulevard, M6B, 1M9.
All right, Ms. Ifra, I'm going to ask for a brief presentation from you.
Sure. We basically have 4 variances attached to this small rear addition that's literally like a glass jewel box, basically. And they include some coverage, some length, a rear yard setback, and then the last one, number 4, refers to the platform, which is just a terrace relatively close to grade. We're just within about 80 centimeters from the grade. The proposal is 1 story high, all glass, like a greenhouse type of style. If you scroll down to the elevations, you can see that. And it's just on the west side of the house. We don't have it going across the rear or anything like that. So each of those variances really just refer to a small portion of, the width of this property. In terms of our neighbors, we went to our neighbors, we spoke to them, we showed it to them. And again, since it's such a small addition, only one story, again, very kind of airy and glassy, and only that small portion of the rear yard, we definitely had support from 4 of them, 2 behind us on Del Park, 55 and 57, and then 2 on Maddock, both our side neighbors, both at 12 and at 16. Additionally, we do have a staff report which is supportive of the application in terms of fitting within the, 4 tests of the plan. And in my opinion, through you, Mr. Chair, I believe this, again, doesn't have impact on the neighbors. It's meant to be light and airy and nothing, that would cause shadow or anything like that. And again, I feel that our neighbors feel the same way. And we hope that you will find favor with it and approve it for us.
All right, thank you. Okay, questions, Mr. Marziari?
Just a quick question, Ms. Ifra. Are you okay with the community planning condition to tie approval with the four variances to tie it? to-
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, and just confirming no speakers for this item in person today. I don't have anybody else online. Okay, let's take this into committee. Yes, Mr. Margieri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, I think it's a very straightforward application, just a partial rear addition, 1 story. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application, subject to planning, community planning condition, to tie the approval to the variances to the latest site plan, which is, I don't know, I don't have the date. You can, yeah, I think it's March 10th, 2025.
Site plan in the community planning staff report?
Yeah, actually, it's an attachment to the community planning.
All right, very good.
report, so.
All right, Mr. Margieri has a motion. Is that a second, Ms. Casson? All right, second by Ms. Casson. All in favor? That's unanimous. That application is approved. All right,
Thank you so
item number.
much.
Yeah, of course. Item number 2, 26 Lionel Heights Crescent. The purpose of the application is to construct an east and west side addition, a second floor addition over the new 2-car garage, a front porch, converting the dwelling into a fourplex. On file, variances actually, deck and canopy encroachment into a front yard setback. I see lot coverage, building length, building depth, and rear yard setback. On file, material from the applicant, as well as 20 or so letters in opposition, number 20, 21, 23, 24, 35, 37, 39, 41, 43, 46, 57, 59, 65, and 69 Lionel Heights Crescent, and 77 Castle Grove Boulevard, as well as 58 Beveridge Drive. We have our applicant with us in person. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Trevor Gain. I'm the agent and applicant here on behalf of the owner.
All right, sir, ask for a brief presentation. See,
Sure.
we've got some opposition. Let's get your presentation up on the screen.
Sure. As mentioned, this is additions and renovations to an existing home. The existing home is a 1-story bungalow, 3 bedrooms with an attached garage. What's proposed, as you mentioned, is a pair of side additions, some entry vestibules on the east and west side, plus a rear addition to accommodate a larger garage. Within the house itself, the 3-bedroom bungalow will be maintained. In the basement, half of the basement will be a secondary suite, kind of an in-law suite that's easily attachable to the main dwelling. And on top of that, when we build the double-car garage, we're putting another unit over the garage and another unit under a garage for a total of 4 units in total, a fourplex. If I can get my covering letter up on the screen, the last page is a sketch. So this diagram shows the site plan, and overlaid it, we have some kind of dark, heavy outlines which are showing the locations of the 1-story additions, which are entry vestibules. And if you scroll all the way down, you'll see the extent of the rear addition beyond the existing footprint of the house. The thin dotted lines that go around the perimeter, those are the required setbacks. If you scroll back up, so the required front yard setback is 7.9 meters. The existing setback of this house is 7.65. So the required front yard setback is about 25 centimeters inside the house. That's just a definition of how front yard setbacks are calculated. It's the average of the two neighbors. Since we don't have a neighbor because it's a corner lot, the front yard setback to the neighbor is ours. So that's what's generating the two variances at the front. Variances number one, number two, relating to the porch and the canopy. Our actual porch projection is 2.44 meters. We're allowed 2.5, but because it's measured from the required yard setback inside the house, that's the variance. Similar to the canopy, we have a 12-inch overhang going around the canopy, very typical. But again, when it's measured from this required setback inside the house, that's why it's a 0.5 meter variance. Variance number three is dealing with coverage. We're allowed 35%, we're asking for 37, 2% more. If you break out those numbers, the actual house massing itself is 34%, 1% less than the allowed. But because we have these canopies, that accounts for the additional 2. You put it together, that's our minor variance. Variances 4 and 5 are dealing with building length. Again, this old house was built before any sort of bylaw. Our existing building length is 18.64, allowed is 17. And what we're doing is we're adding an additional bay to the garage, another 3.8 meters, 8.5 meters. That's our new building length, and building depth, same thing. Lastly, rear yard setback. The required rear yard setback is 8.38 meters. The existing is 7.2, so we're already further back. And again, with the additional bay, that generates the rear yard setback. So overall, we think this renovation project which is situated on this oversized corner lot, provides great rental opportunities for the homeowners and takes advantage of an established neighborhood and schools and all its amenities. The basement in-law suite provides a great opportunity for extended families, an in-law suite, a nanny suite, aging parents, older kids, and similar with the 2 apartments over top of the garage, it provides rental income to help offset the mortgages and interest rates in today's current market. Therefore, we ask for your approval.
Thank you. What's going on with the easement on the north side of the property? Is it shared? I guess half of it belongs to the subject property, the other half to the owner?
Yeah,
Is
I,
that-
think I believe that's a hydro easement. It's quite common.
It's
in
a
North
hydro
York.
easement, okay.
Yeah,
So it's
so-
not accessed by neighbors or
No.
anything?
It's not. It's not a mutual driveway or walkway. It's a hydro easement that goes
Okay.
right through.
All right, very good. Other questions? All right, yes.
I have a quick question. I see here that the 6 proposals or the 6 variances exceed the zoning limit, both vertically and horizontally. How do you justify that the impact on the neighborhood and then around the place?
Sorry, did you say
Yeah,
variance 6 or all the variances?
Yeah, the variances, I see here you are seeking 6 variances. And on a cumulative basis, don't you think it is quite exceeding the?
Right.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, the first 2 variances are just sort of a technicality based on the required setback and where it's measured from. The building length and the rear yard setback is generated as a built form. So the variants are just generated to create a double-car garage. And what we're trying to do here, based on massing, is that we kept the bungalow. We didn't do a full second floor. And the second floor over the garage is basically like a side split. It's just a half a story up. The allowable height in this area is 10 meters, and our second floor is only 6.65 meters, well under the allowable. We did that on purpose to control the massing and kind of keep the bungalow form.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Martial.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what is the existing building length, and how much more are you requesting with this application?
Right. Since that sketch is gone, the existing building length is 18.64 meters, and we're requesting 22.5. So we're another 3.85 meters beyond.
Almost 4 meters extra.
Yeah, which is basically just it's to accommodate the double-car garage.
No, I understand that. Okay, good, thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, I understand we have some speakers in person. Who would like to come down first? Yes, please come down and state your name and address for us, please.
Here?
Yes, and just make sure the buttons. Oh.
Hello?
There you go.
So, hello, my name is Lynn Patterson. I live at 39 Lionel Heights Crescent, which is across the street from 26 Lionel Heights Crescent. I would like to speak to variance number 4. Variance number 4 is the permitted maximum building length for a fourplex is 17 meters, and the proposed building will have a length of 22.5 meters. Explain how the requested variance will impact the enjoyment of your property. So when I look across the street, I'm going to see a longer building, and at the other side of the garage, the new garage, it'll be closer to the neighbor on that side, number 42 Mission Drive. Is the variance requested minor? I think not, because the difference is 5.5 meters, which for me means 18 feet, which to me is about a third, again, the length extended of what's allowed for a fourplex. Is the proposal desirable for the appropriate development of the land or building? I think this variance allows the building to become a fourplex. It gives it enough space, enough length. Is the general intent and purpose of the city's zoning bylaw maintained? I looked up in the interactive map, and yes, it is zoned for a fourplex. Is the proposal desirable for the appropriate development of the land or building? Oh, I said that. So basically, is the general intent and purpose of the city's official plan maintained? So in reading a lot about fourplexes or multiplexes and fourplexes, there is an amendment about multiplexes to the city's official plan. It's, quote, multiplexes can deliver additional dwellings while integrating with the general physical scale and development patterns of the neighborhood. So I would like to say that if I look down my street and up my street, I see a neighborhood that has the character of single-family homes from a 1960s planned community. So I think the development pattern of the neighborhood will be changed by this longer building across from my house. Also, the general physical scale, it says in the amendment that the dwelling the multiplex will integrate with the general physical scale, and because it's been asked to be 30% bigger or longer, I think that it's well, I'm really looking for reassurance that the fourplex of this development meets with the patterns of the neighborhood, as it says in the amendment. That's what I would like to say.
Questions? Okay, thank you. We have some other speakers as well. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi there. Hang on, does that work? Yes, good. I'm Linda Strawn. I'm at 35 Lionel Heights Crescent. I have two concerns that I'd like to bring to the committee today. Certainly, as has already been outlined, the proposed building exceeds multiple zoning limits. And, you know, individually, it's one thing, but when you consider them in total, you can't look at this as a minor variation, in my view. With 4 units planned for the property, it requires bylaw variances pretty much on all sides, as already been outlined. The thing is, if you're going to allow all of these variances, I'm not sure why we have bylaws in the first place. I feel that by allowing the applicant to exceed the bylaws to such a degree, it kind of sets a precedent for future developments to push the boundaries even further. So it's just a bit excessive in my view. Plus, the proposed development is significantly out of scale and character with existing homes in the area, which are modest single-family residences. I am aware that the City of Toronto wants to increase housing density and now allows fourplexes under the RD zoning to promote gentle densification, as it's referred to. But that's not under debate. However, the variances proposed don't represent desirable development for the site. In my feeling is the RD zoning may have been designated more with downtown properties in mind, where conversions to fourplexes make more sense. There they have good access to transit and other urban amenities. What doesn't make sense is dropping a fourplex into a quiet residential crescent. We kind of need to balance increased density with the existing character of the neighborhood. The Planning Act's intent for minor variance implies a deviation that does not fundamentally alter the character of the neighborhood, as it states, and the proposed development does not respect the intent of our zoning regulations, nor does it really serve the best interests of our community. So I respectfully request that the committee deny the application in its current form in order to uphold established planning principles and protect the existing neighborhood integrity and prevent the setting of an undesirable precedent for future developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wrong glasses. Thank you, committee members and Mr. Zoras, for the opportunity to speak to this application. My name is Diane Hofstra, and I live at 24 Lionel Heights. I have lived there for over 40 years. I understand that this is a conundrum, trying to densify and provide housing while keeping in line with the official Planning Act and satisfying the concerns of the residents in the affected neighborhood. Although I understand that fourplexes are now approved by City Council, it is my hope that we could come to a resolution that is acceptable and satisfying to all parties. Mr. Zoras has outlined his plans. Let me explain my concerns. For that purpose, I draw your attention to these requirements in the Amendment 649 of Bylaw 473-2023 that should be upheld and which I think are a problem in Mr. Zoras' application. Firstly, from the amendment, the development of a multiplex will maintain the low-rise built form of each geographic neighborhood, including, in particular, prevailing setbacks of buildings from the street or streets, and minimize the privacy impacts between adjacent dwelling units. The applicant has applied for variances on all sides of the existing building. These variances to setbacks requested are not minor, especially in regard to the north yard, which the drawings show as the rear yard, and in regard to the west yard, which backs onto my property. I maintain that the totality of these encroachments on the setbacks is major in its effect. Furthermore, I am specifically concerned with the west side of the building, which the drawing depicts as the side yard, and which directly faces my backyard and my pool. The patio that the builder proposes will very nearly reach that fence that surrounds my pool. The applicant has in the past months demolished the long-standing and beautiful cedar hedge along the side yard without any notice or consultation. This hedge has provided complete privacy for many years, but now because of the removal of that hedge, my pool is completely exposed. Not only is it in full view of those passing along Mission Street and Lionel Heights, even more distressing, the pool will now be in full view of the residents living in number 26. Since the applicant proposes 4 units, the number of people who will have direct view increases significantly. Additionally, when the residents enjoy the patio in the side yard, they will be no more than a stone's throw from my patio and pool area and will significantly impact for me the enjoyment of my outdoor living space. The patio area of number 26 is so close to my property line so that anyone using the rear entrances or looking out of the many windows in the rear of the building, not to mention enjoying their own patio, will have full view of the pool area as well as the backyard. I assure you, there will be no more skinny dipping at 24 Lionel Heights. My privacy has been completely impacted, dare I say, eroded. For this reason, I request that a condition of any approval include the construction of an attractive privacy fence that will restore the privacy that has been lost through the demolition of the cedar hedge. I'm also worried about the grade of the patio in the west side. The ground there is higher than my yard, and I'm worried about runoff into my yard and my pool. I also request that a condition of any approval include measures to ensure proper drainage of the patio area on the side yard so that I do not experience runoff from number 26. Thank you for the opportunity to address these concerns. I hope you will consider this genuine concern that I have about the impact to my privacy and enjoyment of a home that I have loved for 40 years. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask, have you had any discussions with the applicant prior?
No,
No.
he's not made any overtures to me.
Okay, all right. Other questions at this time? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have some other speakers in person to speak to this item? No. Staff, there's some online.
We've attempted to reach out to Mr. Deganas without any success. We left a voicemail.
Okay. Is there Mr. Stockton? Number 35? Very good. Okay. Okay, I think that's everybody. I would, at this time, like to turn it back to our agent, Mr. Gain. Some things brought up by the neighbors, give you an opportunity to address some of those concerns.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'll just mention that we have no minor variances for a fourplex. This is an as-of-right building type. Further information about parking, we have no parking variances. There's no comments from transportation. We're satisfying the parking. I'm speaking to some of the letters that were sent in. We're actually increasing it because of the double-car garage. From the single, instead of one car in the garage, but actually two tandem on the driveway, we have the potential for 2 in the garage, 4 in the driveway. So there's ample parking to satisfy, which is why there's no variances. There was comments about infrastructure. Again, we have no comments from development engineering. This house has 5 washrooms in it. This is no different, really. If this was a custom house torn down, built with 4 bedrooms, en suites on the second floor, nanny suite in the basement. Again, no comments from development engineering about the influx of this house on the infrastructure. Same with stormwater management. There's no proposal to grade changes. So any concerns to the neighbor about the higher elevation, that's an existing situation. And whatever the drainage pattern is, if it flows towards the yards, it'll be changed and will contain our drainage on our side. Similar with that, we have no variances for soft landscaping. So we are controlling all our runoff. We're actually exceed all the minimums, and we're doing our part for that. Shadow and privacy. Can I get the elevation drawings on page 6? As mentioned, we have no height variance on this application, that drawing there. So if you scroll out, you can see the existing bungalow kind of in the middle with the front addition with the gable roof over it, and there's the new garage with the second floor on top. That height, as I mentioned, is 6.65 meters, well under the allowable 10 meters. Originally, we designed this as a full 2-story house, but that's a different type of renovation for the owner and for the intended use, so we decided to kind of stretch it out as the bungalow, go for the rear yard setback variance, which we think is minor, given the height and the location of the corner lot, and the neighbor to the north, that's his backyard as well, and with the shadowing and the angle of the sun, the impact will be minimal. In terms of privacy, if I can take the next page, please. We have one window facing north. This is at the stairs going up to the second floor. This is really just to let light into that stairwell. Because of the angle of the property, the sun is going to set kind of in the northwest corner. So as the sun comes through the afternoon, the shadows are going to head away from the neighbors, and that'll put light into that window and then down into that hallway, which is a nice effect. On the west side, that might be the next elevation, I'm not sure. Yeah, we have two windows up at the top. That's a bedroom window, bathroom window. That's what's overlooking the neighbors to the west. However, those windows are over 4 meters away, which I think is an ample separation for any sort of privacy and overlook. And furthermore, to any of the comments about any sort of privacy fence, it will address any of these concerns that might happen at grade under the standard fence bylaw. NIMBY comments aside about taking this fourplex and throwing it downtown, this is a great location. This is an established neighborhood. It's got schools, it's got amenities. It's exactly what this bylaw is for. It's providing affordable rentals. It's providing income for the owners. It also has great flexibility within it, whether it's full rentals, whether it's a nanny, whether it's long-term caregivers or extended family members. It all could be built into this with almost minimal impact on the community. This is low-density housing compared to sending these families into a high-rise condo downtown. So in closing, there's no staff comments from city planning. We did speak to planning about this. They think this is a supportable application, which is why there's no report. It more than satisfies the 4 test. And I think this is an excellent example of low impact intensification with minimal impact on the neighborhood.
Yes, Ms. Casson.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I missed the part about the fence on the west property line. Is there a fence there now, or is it the intent to erect a fence?
Yeah, I would think any neighbors would want a fence. Right now, there was some old dilapidated cedars which were cleared out, it was mentioned, and there's a chain link fence that separates the properties right now. So there will be an opportunity to put a wood privacy fence around the corner, as happens on any neighborhood.
So beyond an opportunity, I think it would go a long way to provide a privacy fence at the expense of this owner as opposed to the adjacent owner having to do that.
That's usually the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yes, Mr. Kaboo.
Yes, sir. The previous speaker indicated that they did not have any opportunity to discuss this application with you. Can you clarify that situation, please?
Yeah, we were going to do it. We have some, the owner has some neighbors from friends on the street, and when we were starting to go out to do a petition to kind of explain the situation, we heard of this large group assembling to talk about it. So we heard their concerns, and we just knew that they were pretty hard stance that it was really just the fourplex that they didn't want. So we just backed off and we just tried it. Since then, I think there was a conversation between an owner and my client, kind of explaining his stance and where he's at, but that was the extent of that.
Mr. Green, might there be an opportunity, just given, we do recognize that there is a considerable setback. It's a unique property in that it's a corner lot, so what would typically be a side yard with a reduced side backs, there's a little bit more space there. But just given the removal of some of the privacy plantings there, and I know it's not a condition we can pose, but might there be an opportunity to plant a tree or something in there so that longer term there might be afforded a little more privacy? And I bring that up only because typically on a typical lot, 22.5, in this area, it might be a little challenging to extend that far back. Given there's a corner lot, helps to mitigate, as you noted, there's an increased side yard setback. But, that said, with that comes, you noted the bedroom windows on the second floor, extending kind of that far into the neighbor's property line. I wonder, just given the side yard setback, if there is an opportunity to mitigate some of the sight lines from those rear windows at the second story.
Yeah, there's always a chance. I don't know if we can plant a tree at a 4.3 meter setback. Generally, any sort of shade tree or forestry wants a larger footprint.
Yeah.
But, cedars can happen again. The problem with cedars is that it takes a while to grow, even if you spend the money and get tall ones.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that they're going to survive. So number one, privacy fence is the best option here. And like I said, the second floor, it is just a bedroom and a bathroom. It's not the main entertainment space of that dwelling. That faces the Mission, the side street. So we do think that any potential overlook is sort of minimized based on the use of that room within. That being said, there's always an opportunity to try to work with the neighbors if the owner is willing to plant the cedars at his expense, that's an option that they can work out between the two of them.
All right, very well. Other questions? I see none. Okay, thank you, Mr. Gain. Thank you, everybody that has spoken to this item. I'm going to take this into committee now for a brief discussion amongst my colleagues, perhaps provide a little bit of planning rationale, and then we'll render a decision on this. Okay? So you can step down, Mr. Gain. All right, let's take this into committee now.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I may start.
Yes,
with
Mr.
some
Kibu.
comments. So,
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
I really appreciate the way the agent presented the project, including highlighting some of the advantages. However, I'm still very concerned with the magnitude and then the cumulative impact of the variances, particularly the rear yard and then the rear yard setback and the building depth, which are quite significant here. One of my concerns is also about the capacity. So they're almost putting forward quite a huge project without adequate capacity or without mitigating or way to address the concerns that have been raised by the neighbors here, including the stormwater, and yeah, we've heard about the privacy mitigation factors for the privacy. But cumulatively, I'm not satisfied that this application meet the four tests, because it seems to affect the scale, both the scales and character of the neighborhood. So I would not be able to support it.
All right. Yes, Ms. Sankar Peralta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too felt that looking at it, it seemed like it's only a few variances, but when you hear how the impact is on the neighbors and their description, having firsthand expertise of living in that neighborhood, that this absolutely does not sort of fit the character of the neighborhood, despite the fact that we're wanting to have more affordable housing for folks in Toronto. I do believe that, you have to weigh that against what the type of neighborhood is as well. I can see from what the agent or the owner, what they're trying to do is mitigate on all of these different, levels of just making it sort of fit as best as they can. But really, cumulatively, I find this not minor at all. I find the impact quite large to the surrounding folks. And I was especially persuaded by, number 24, which is, right next to this property. And that person's description of what the neighborhood is really like. I also find that, the excuses that the agent had indicated, that they all gathered together and, they had already made their mind up. So no use in trying to have a conversation. I find that really not a good, what's the right word? I think it's incumbent of you to do the best you can to hear out the neighbors, try to work with them, and go through at length, what would be your as of right versus, what you're coming to committee with, and come to us with that sort of reasonability. I didn't see that. I can't support this application.
Yes, Ms. Casson.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I could take a different opinion than my colleagues on this matter. I think that this is a very creative approach to building a fourplex in an existing low-density neighborhood. I think because the majority of the mass of the building remains at one story, I think that the second-story addition and the extension of the garage is modest, although, you know, it does result in the additional building length, which we often see on a corner lot, even for just a regular house. And I actually think that a new three-story house, 2 or 3-story house on this property would probably have more impact than this would have. I think that the majority of the variances are quite minor. I would tie it to site plan and elevations to ensure that nothing else gets, you know, the whole area isn't, or the whole front couldn't be brought forward, or the whole back couldn't be brought back. But other than that, I think, and I understand the residents' concern about this, I think that a privacy fence, as the applicant mentioned, would be the best to mitigate privacy to the property to the west. But generally, I think this is a good application, and I believe it does meet the 4 tests. And given the city's direction in terms of providing more housing within residential areas and intensifying those areas, I actually think this is a pretty good application.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks to my colleagues. I think I am more aligned with Ms. Sankar and Mr. Kubu. I think I'm having difficulty supporting variances 4, 5, and 6. I think the subject of fourplex is always supportable from us, but I think it's just not close to the build form of a single-family house. It's just too much. I can support variances 1, 2, 3, but 4, 5, 6. And I'm surprised the back neighbor didn't show up. If I was living there, I would definitely show up and oppose this application. So,
Perhaps a motion? Well, I think I'm more aligned with Ms. Casson on this, but we are 5, so perhaps a motion from one of the members. We can see where it goes. Yes, Ms. Sankar Peralta?
Yeah, I think for all of the reasons that I've stated prior, I don't believe this is minor, and I don't believe it fits the character of the neighborhood, and therefore, for that reason, you know, it doesn't meet the 4 tests, and so I refuse this application. That's my motion.
All right, do I have a seconder for that? Second by Mr. Kaboo. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Mr. Allison and Ms. Casson, for the record, opposed. The motion carries. The application is refused. All right, let's take a 5 to 10 minute relief break. We'll resume at 11 a.m.
hard to game plan around here, I'll tell you.
Oh, I didn't even shut down
Yeah.
the video.
So used to getting the chat. No? Here? They're not online? So we just have the letter.
All right, thank you, everybody. We are back. We are on item number 3, 5580 Young Street. Purpose of this application is to permit a video, games, arcade use, accessory to the retail use. The existing retail use will be maintained. No physical interior or exterior changes are being proposed. One variance related to the use. On file material from the applicant, and one letter of opposition from 1708, Unit 7, Lorraine Drive. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and fellow committee members. My name is Roshan Thiru. I'm a planner at Design Plan Services, Inc., located at 87 Skyway Avenue, Suite 200 in Toronto, and I'm the authorized agent and planner for this application.
All right, before you get to presentation, I'm going to ask anybody here to speak to this item. All right, I would ask my colleagues, do you guys want a full presentation from this? Questions? Check with Ms. Sinclair. No. Doesn't appear we need a full presentation. If there's anything you'd like to add, you may, but it looks like we can take this into committee for you.
Sounds good, Mr. Chair. I just want to note that I did speak with planning staff regarding this, and they had no concerns or objections. And I have submitted a cover letter on to the committee, so if there are any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.
Yes, we did receive your cover letter. Thank you. Okay, let's take this into committee. Ms. Sankar Peralta. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm
we
so
go.
sorry. Before we had taken this into committee,
course.
I didn't know if they wanted to address just the letter that came in, you know, from the neighbor, just so that they feel heard. That's around, you know, the fact that we're concerned about noise levels, traffic, overall, you know, character and interests of the community. If they just wanted to respond
Sure,
to that.
yeah, let's, I presume you've had an opportunity to read the letter?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Chair. I'll briefly address it. This proposal is a result of an order to comply. So the arcade machines already exist within the unit. And in terms of noise, I'm not a noise consultant, but the arcade machines are within the unit. And when I was on site visiting the property on June 12th, my client opted to mute all the machines, so there's no noise or music that's emitted from the arcade machines. In terms of traffic, it's right along Yonge Street, so there's plenty of public transportation options, and there is a existing parking lot to the rear of the subject property. And in terms of the overall use, I think it's a great addition to the neighborhood. It's a place for entertainment, which, in my opinion, it's perfect for the neighborhood and would fit in. So I hope that addresses that neighbor's concerns. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, let's take this back into committee. Yes, Ms. Sankar Peralta.
If no one has anything to say, I could make a motion I do believe that it to me, the application speaks, and I think it does meet the 4 tests. I think it's also great to have that sort of variety in the neighborhood. And, I myself have used similar arcades, or my daughter, and I think it's necessary for, kids in the surrounding areas and as well as adults. So I have no problems with it. Unless there's somebody else who wanted to make a comment, I could make a motion.
No, I think you're good to go.
Okay, so for all of those reasons, I do believe it meets the 4 tests, and as such, I'll put forward a motion to approve this application.
All right, we got a motion for approval, second by Ms. Casson. All in favor? That is unanimous. Your application is approved. Without condition, yes. All right, moving along. Item number 4, 172 to 202 Drury Avenue. The purpose of this application is to convert the existing dwelling into a temporary sales office. All right, we've got a number of variances, a number of variances relating to the use. As well, on file, we've got a report from Community Planning, which came in late. 1 letter of objection, and a memo from Urban Forestry. Our agent or applicant with us. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Adam Layton. I'm an associate principal with Goldberg Group, and I represent the proponent in this instance. I did provide presentation materials, which I hope have been circulated. If we could just pull those up, it would probably help with some of the history of this site. But if we could keep scrolling down, there should be presentation materials.
Can you speak louder, please?
I will certainly try.
Speak to the microphone, please.
Well, hold on. If we can't hear, I will interject.
Could we please keep scrolling? There's a presentation material. There we go. Excellent. So if we scroll down to the next slide, this is just an aerial image of the, one too far. An aerial image of the subject property. It consists of 172 and 202 Drury Avenue. This is about halfway between Bathurst and Yonge Street on the north side of Drury. 172 consists of a former place of worship. 202 Drury is a detached dwelling. Just about a year ago, in June of 2024, City Council approved zoning bylaw amendment through bylaw 672-2024 to permit the redevelopment of the subject property with a townhouse development. If we scroll down to the next slide, you'll see that layout. It would consist of a common element laneway and a mix of traditional rear lane and back-to-back stacked townhouses. And I've also outlined where the variances pertain to. There are a number of them. Variances 1 to 6 and number 8 generally pertain to the area where the existing dwelling on 202 Drury is located, that I've highlighted generally in the orange color. Variance 9 seeks to permit a rooftop terrace for the back-to-back units in the middle of the site, so well separated from all the surrounding dwellings. And finally, variance 7 is related to more of a technical or clerical matter. The implementing zoning bylaw allowed for unit lot frontages of 5.4 meters. There's been some discussion as to whether that supersedes the required unit width of 6 meters. We are applying for this relief just as an abundance of caution to clean that matter up. But suffice to say, council did approve the zoning to permit lot frontages of 5.4 meters in accordance with the site plan. The next slide, which thankfully is on the screen right now, shows what we are contemplating for a temporary sales office. So the existing dwelling at 202 Drury would be renovated. It would be kept in situ. Essentially, the only addition would be the installation of a accessibility ramp, which you'll see to the right of the dwelling at the end of the driveway. There would be hoarding or signage put up in front of the property, and then an accessible parking space within the existing driveway in the front yard. As this use is technically a non-residential use, it triggers a number of the variances related to lot frontage, setbacks, parking space location, things of that nature. We've reviewed the conditions from city staff that this be valid for a period of 3 years. Suffice it to say, we are certainly hopeful this sales period will be much less than 3 years. It's intended that as soon as the sales process is done, this building could be demolished along with the rest of the site to permit the development. And we are working our way through the site plan control process to finalize that. And sales would commence once site plan is approved. The next slide shows the elevations of the detached dwelling and how they would be impacted. The top image is the front elevation, and I've highlighted in blue the conceptual location and height of the signage and hoarding. And then the side elevation, just a little lower down on the page, shows the location of the access ramp that would be installed. It's contemplated that this would just operate during business hours during the week, and of course, parking would be provided off-site through the existing parking supply at 172 Drury. So those are all the variances related to the sales office. Moving to the rooftop access on the next slide, we have a building elevation showing what the encroachment above the height, or I guess the projection above the permitted height would look like. Again, it's just to provide rooftop terraces for these back-to-back units, which don't possess any amenity space at grade. The area would be hidden by the parapets as shown in the top image, and a rendering is shown in the lower image. Again, this is located in the center of the site. We feel it's an appropriate location. It is well buffered from all surrounding uses. And in that regard, it's my opinion as a professional planner that the proposed variances meet the 4 tests, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Casson?
Just one question, just to confirm, none of the units have been sold yet?
That is correct. My client is not proceeding to sales until the site plan is approved.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So, sorry, I think I might have missed it. The only thing before the committee is the temporary sales office.
I believe there's, no,
Or-
I don't, I think there's a variance related to the rooftop access as well.
And through you, Mr. Chair, there's a variance for the width of the townhouse units.
Yes, as well.
The bylaw was written at 6, I believe, and it's 5. Go ahead.
The minimum lot frontage in the approved amendment is 5.4 meters. Unrelated, but related, is the minimum unit width in the RT zone, which now applies, is 6 meters.
Oh, okay.
Again, it seems obvious that you can't build a 6-meter wide unit on a 5.4 meter wide lot. But again, we're here out of an abundance of caution for that aspect.
That makes sense.
I raise it just knowing that there is a recommendation in the planning report. It's not 100% clear what the timing pertains to. Do you know what I'm?
Yes, yeah. Staff, we'll just pull up that planning report. I believe it's in the late package. Right, I see that. Thank you for catching that. Yeah, so just members, if you'll note, the recommendations in the planning report don't specifically reference, my understanding is, I mean, it's pretty clear that that recommendation would pertain specifically to the sales office, the variances for the sales office.
Can we see the report?
Yes, it's in the staff in the late package. Yeah.
Otherwise, I have to open it separately, so.
If I may, Mr. Chair, we had the same assumption and would accept the condition. Thank you.
You noted there was one variance you didn't note, which was number 7. Does that fall into the sales office or the?
Number 7 is the clerical correction about the unit frontage.
Okay, so it's
versus
7
width.
and 9 pertaining to the built form,
Correct.
essentially, and then the rest pertaining to the use.
Correct.
Understood. All right.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I see that, but I think it's pretty clear that an approval for the rooftop amenity area or the width of the unit would not be temporary. So I think it's pretty clear.
It was, I think, an oversight, slight oversight by planning.
And I think we can clarify that in our decision.
Yes, okay, very good then.
Through you, that's why I brought it up. So should you choose to approve this, please be a little more specific as to what you are approving, should you choose to tie or utilize the planning's recommendations.
All right, thank you for catching that, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer. Well, otherwise, yeah. All right, we do have another speaker. Welcome. Good. Ms. Roca, sorry, don't mean to interject. Just make sure you press the button.
This, now you hear me?
There you go. We
Thank
can hear
you
you
very
now.
much.
Of course.
First of all, I'd like to thank very much to Mr. Kyle Nock by transferring my objection to the committee. My name is Esther Roca. I'm dealing with this issue of the builder going back in 2022. I'd like to make an open statement before I move on. On June 4th, in the hearing regarding the approval of this project, Lily Cheng, the councillor, she opposed this project because of the issue of the church. The builder claimed in his application that it's vacant land, the builder, and the designer, the architect plan applied that this field property, again, vacant land. But I am she opposed it without council recommendation. She wanted to talk to me, but these steps never took place. She put it on hold for a few days, but then she endorsed it without calling me back and talking to me and discussing this issue. They didn't allow me also to appeal. But before that, I sent a letter to Mr. Chai Man Lam on Monday, July 24, 2023, regarding Pentecostal Holy Church of 172 Avenue, and he never responded to my letter. My objection on the hearing on June 4th, never submitted to the committee. But now you have my objection, right? So you can read it, right? So this is, now I'm presenting over 6.
Just make sure you talk into the mic, just because those that are listening online, they're not going to hear you.
Mr. Chair, her letter is actually received and up on.
When you're talking to me back, I'm not always hear you. I have a hearing disability on my both ears, okay?
Okay.
Sorry, I move out from the microphone. It's my problem.
No problem.
My mistake, I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Chair, can you just remind her?
I'd just like to tell you that I'm presenting over 60 people of the community.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me the permission to act on their behalf.
Okay, and we have your letter up on the screen.
Yeah. So,
all right.
I am a professional designer, okay, and I go to the drawing letter, but what I want to, it's here on the screen. What I understand from the builder, that he trying to apply what he call it minor variation, different how do you call that, chapter from the zoning bylaw. Some of them that are RT, some of them that are not, but One thing is so, as I wrote in my application, I don't know if I read it all, go to page 2. First, he applied for apartment building, but he was declined. I don't know why he didn't put it in his application. He planning to start to build in 2025. I spoke with the church now is rented to a new church called Iguana, and by 2025, he's going to tell them that they have to leave the church and go somewhere else. On May 1st, 2024, we received a notification of the city, and now it's not anymore 172 Drury Avenue, it's 172-202. He bought the house beside it. The house beside it, just close to me, it's my neighbor. And he applied this subdivision that he won. He called it uncharacteristics of the fabric of the neighborhood. Drury Avenue is RD zoning, period. But later on, they changed, they put the multiplex project, right? But this is what's coming on later on, after, in 2024. So,
Ms. Roca.
He want to put between two bungalow. You saw on the screen all these big houses. Okay.
Yeah. Ms. Roca, you're at your 5-minute mark. We're going to have to wrap it up. But
Okay.
I just wanted to hone in on the issues so I can understand what
okay.
your concerns are. So the applicant is before us today. They're asking, essentially, there's 2 parts to this. One is they're asking for a temporary use to set up a sales office for a number of years. That's one, and there's a whole set of variances that fall with that. And then the other 2 variances relate to the width of the building, of the individual town units, and then a new proposed rooftop access. So they're asking for a variance to enable a rooftop access. So that's the only thing we're dealing with today. They already have the approval for the full development. So help me out by letting me understand what your concerns are with
Okay.
the variances that are here today. Okay?
So I go to the main issue. He said on his, he want to apply what is called maybe RT and or WAV. WAV mean that i.e. many type of zoning, industrial, commercial, residential, and so on. Which means it's not only RT. You want to, according to the rule, he want to apply for what is called commercial. Commercial, you can put office building in commercial zoning and commercial zoning, employment zoning.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt, Ms. Roca. We understand.
Let me finish.
We understand. I'm good.
Don't cut me off in my thought, please. It's very difficult for me. So what I'm saying is that on his chapter 1060-30-2010, quotation 2, he applied that this building is non-residential building, or non-residential building is any structure that is not designed or used primarily for living or dwelling purposes. These buildings are typically used for commercial, industrial, institutional, or other non-residential function. This building is a house. People was living there. I'm the neighbor, okay?
Yeah.
And the car there and all this. Why he applied this paragraph to this building? Okay, this is number 1, okay? Then the other issue is, that I like to talk to you about, is chapter 900-510, 372 EI. Again, subparagraph 1111II. He want to, for what I understand, state that should the above identify the need of upgrade or improvement to existing municipal infrastructures and or new municipal service and so on. So it looked to me that he planning to change the house, like first of all, change it to office to sell the townhouses.
Mm-hmm.
For
Correct, yep.
a church property that he doesn't have a permit yet to demolish the church. Now, he wanted, first of all, the house is facing Drury Avenue, right? In his planning for the subdivision, he going to demolish this house, and according to diagram 4, what is it, put it in his application, it's going to be facing toward the subdivision, which means this house going to demolish and going to face to the inside, inner of the subdivision. If you look, I don't know if you have diagram 4, look at diagram 4. So what he wants is, according to his drawing, he wants to have entrance from Drury Avenue. He taking part of the church property that right now 40% of it rent to buses for the North York municipality, and you want to have entrance to the house. The house have exit from the back from Drury, and you have also entrance from the side of the house. Beside it is a garage. So you want to probably demolish the entrance from the front of the house, convert it to parking, but it's not going to be enough. And according to the drawing, he's saying it's going to be showing only one house, or only one floor. He's not going to change the structure. But according to the zoning that he asked for, he wants to change the house. I don't know, third floor he wants to, probably a model townhouses. I have no idea what he wants to do there.
All right.
The main issue is...
Ms. Roque, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up.
Excuse me? Look what's happening when people coming for service in the church. They have no place to park. He wants to take all this area, cut it off, and tell the people for the church, go to hell. I'm coming first. I'm more important. All this application, I do not believe that apparently to change the definition of the church, what he asking for in his application, where the mayor approved of, to change the definition of the church. It will never take place, and I'll tell you why. Because if it's going to take place for Liguana, it's going to take place for all the churches in Toronto or Ontario, or any worship. This is a worship. It could be synagogue, it could be church, it could be mosque or something like that. The city, I don't know about other provinces, but I know the province of Ontario giving the privilege to the worship to choose any site they want in any art zoning to put a worship. This is a complicated application that never dealt with properly and never should take place to begin with. I'm dealing with this church. I'm there before the church came along. I dealt with the church before they built the church. And we are really rejecting all this project because Drury Avenue is in Heritage Street. Is inherited by...
All right, Ms. Roque, I'm going to have to stop you there.
So anyway,
I'm going to have to stop you there.
Are you agree with me? Are you agree with me that
Ms.
you
Ms.
cannot
Roque.
sell townhouses on a property, on a church property that he doesn't have demolish permit yet, and he will never get the demolish permit? the bylaw did not change yet, and why it didn't apply to that when he put the subdivision? Why he didn't say from the beginning
Ms. Roca,
that he want to have the house
I'm
as
gonna
a
have to cut you
cell
there. We're gonna give him the opportunity to answer your questions. You've raised a lot of questions. I've been more than generous with time. So I'm gonna have to end you there. I would I will have the agent back to answer some of your questions. Okay?
I didn't hear what you said, sorry.
I
Somebody come and tell me what you say. I didn't hear you. I didn't understand. So, anyway, we are objecting that.
understood. Okay. Mr. Layton, Ms.
whole
Roca,
thing-
you're good. You can sit down. Mr. Layton will give you an opportunity to respond to some of the concerns that were raised. Perhaps provide a little bit of clarification where needed.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. I've been involved with this development since the initial application. Ms. Roca did advise of her concerns and objections during that stage. I can assure the committee that at no point was an apartment building proposed for the site. It was always townhouses. The zoning bylaw amendment, as I indicated, was approved by council. It is in effect. So townhouses are permitted on the site. As perhaps a mode of clarification, yes, the intent is that this development, as you see on screen, will ultimately be built. It will require the demolition of both the structures on 202 and 172 Drury. Until that happens, the intent is that the sales center would occupy the existing dwelling. Once the sales center is no longer required, the structure will be demolished, and then the new development will be constructed. With respect to the place of worship, it will continue to operate, and the existing place of worship operator is constantly informed and up to speed on the current status of the applications. They know that at a certain point in the future, they will need to vacate the site. Arrangements have been made. And then at an appropriate time, a demolition permit will be sought. I can't speak to why a demolition permit would never be issued for this site. That's not my experience where there is an approved redevelopment application. But suffice it to say, again, as you indicated, Mr. Chair, the focus of the variances before us today are simply to address the interim use of 172 Drury as a temporary sales center, again, hopefully much less than 3 years, and to allow for the pop-ups for the rooftop patio on the back-to-back units, and to clarify again, a clerical error or a technical error in the implementing zoning bylaw. But the RT zone is in force and effect today, and we are working towards finalizing site plan approval to allow the demolition to occur and the new dwellings to be built. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Layton. Questions? Yes, Ms. Casson.
Just one question or through you, Mr. Chair, one question of clarification. The pop-ups on the amenity area in the middle section, were they part of the application? They just didn't get captured, or was that an afterthought?
It was a bit of an afterthought.
Okay.
At the time of the application, we weren't certain if we were going to need it. Market conditions being what they are, the builder is looking to maximize the amenity space and provide not that the old design was not attractive, but maybe a more attractive option to purchase.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Just
Mr. Maragiari.
another quick question. So if we approve this application, the 3-year permit does not apply to, just want to understand, variance 7 and 9, correct?
That is correct. The unit width variance and the rooftop access projection.
Yeah, thanks.
Other questions? All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Layton. Okay, let's take this matter into committee. Any takers?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to make a motion for approval of this application, subject to the variances relating to the temporary sales trailer. And if we need to go back and number those. Oh, sorry, sales office.
Center, or
Sorry,
office.
slip of the tongue. Sales office, so variances, I think it's all but 7 and 9. So 1 through 6, 8? Yes. 1 through 6 and variance 8. Be subject to the condition in the community planning staff report with a 3-year limit attached to it as a condition. And variances 7 and 9 be approved.
Right, do I have a?
And I think we have
I
a
think there's
forestry.
a forestry, yeah, forestry condition number 2.
All right, I believe that's a second by Ms. Sankar Peralta. Yes, okay. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. That application is approved with condition. All right, item number 5, 20 Hazel Glen Avenue. The purpose of this application is to construct a new garden suite at the rear of the existing property. Variances for west side setback, east side setback, north side setback, and front porch and stair encroachment. On file, material from the applicant, a report from community planning, urban forestry, and a letter of concern from 18 Hazel Glen Avenue. So, you can't, ma'am. We're on, we're past the item now. All right, we have our agent or applicant with us.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owners of 20 Hazel Glen Avenue.
Welcome, Ms. Evangelista. I believe there's also a neighbor for this item. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Evangelista, we'll get the clock up. Ask for a brief presentation from you.
Okay. I would like to start by modifying after conversations with planning staff. We have made a modification to variance number 1, and we have increased the setback to 1.2 meters on the west side.
All right. Thank you for that.
So I submitted a presentation just to indicate what the variances are, page 3 of my submission. I am aware we did work with planning. We increased the setback. This is a very unique lot. Its lot configuration is quite unique, as you could see, and a lot of the variances that we have is due to the lot shape. Now, I am aware of the letter of concern from 18 Hazel Glen. However, if we take a look at the east side, you'll see that 1.2 meter setback is only for that pinch point at the southeast portion, just about 3 meters of that. And I would also like to add that there are no windows on that side. And you'll see at the northeast to the midpoint to where that 1.2 meter pinch point is, you'll see that our setbacks are approximately 3.62 meters, which is more than what is permitted. So the variances that we have, now this is a garden suite. The existing home will remain as is. It is a smaller home, and the garden suite is to have their mother live with them and have her own privacy. And that's the intent here. So it's not going to be rented out. This is for their own family members. They do have, some family that do stay with them. And the variances on the west and the north side are, again, due to the lot shape. It is quite original lot. So the application, we have worked with staff are in support, so is engineering. We do notice that we do have some forestry conditions because the my apologies, the lot is heavily treed, and we are actually working around keeping all these trees because it is quite private in the back. And I respectfully submit that what we are proposing is in line with ZBL and OP, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Ms. Evangelista. Questions? No questions. All right, we have another speaker. Ms. Gray.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Elaine Gray. I'm located at 18 Hazel Glen, directly adjacent to 20 Hazel Glen on the east side. I would ask that the requested setbacks for the construction of the garden suite at the rear lot of 20 Hazel Glen not be approved, and that the structure be built adhering to the city bylaws. The proposed structure is too close to the property line and raises concerns as outlined in my memorandum to the Committee of Adjustment on June the 18th to include. Number one is privacy. Please note on the plans, a window is there on the east side wall, which overlooks our pool and garden area. Can this be removed or can it be frosted? Number two, the loss of green space, increased noise, traffic, parking, and safety concerns. Is there adequate fire access to the garden suite so deep in the lot? Number three, the impact on neighborhood character, reduced garden and green space, loss of mature trees, shadow, less sun. I'm also concerned about water runoff from downspouts. Where's the water going to drain? I've had to raise a retaining wall in our backyard to prevent water soil runoff. And I'd like to know, is a feasibility study needed to address this? I've contacted my counselor's office, Lily Chung, and I have spoken to the policy and planning advisor regarding my concerns. In summary, I would like the structure to be built adhering to the setbacks as outlined by the bylaws, keeping the structure a maximum distance away from the property line, and work to keep as much green space as possible. Although this is an unusual pie-shaped lot, I do not want the variances to set a precedent. You know, as a side note, it was really interesting hearing the presentation in agenda item number 2. The concerns listed are similar, the lady with the pool, privacy, water runoff, neighborhood character. It really resonated with me. I, too, am a long-term resident, a Willowdale resident. I also find the lack of information from my neighbors is disappointing, considering the impact on my outdoor living space. Thank you again.
All right, thank you. Questions? All right, let's take it back to our agent. I'd like to give her an opportunity to respond to some of the concerns that were raised by the immediate neighbor.
My apologies, I didn't realize I had to mute myself. As I mentioned, so on the east side, the variance of 1.2 meters is just strictly for the pinch point at the back, because you'll see that the rear of the property comes down to a point, how it's shaped. So that 1.2 meters is strictly for that pinch point at the very southern portion of the property. We have side yard setback of 3.82 meters to approximately 3.2 meters, whereas the bylaw requires 2.6. So we are above, we have more than enough space between the two properties. The trees are going to remain, and that is why they have set the house back 3.82 meters to maintain the treescape in the rear of the property. Also, there are portions of the property that they're higher than we are. All, as we know, when we go to building permit stage, all water has to be maintained on our own property. So I can assure that that will be adhered to. There is also sufficient space for the fire trucks to access that rear garden suite. And privacy. There was a comment about one of the windows. If I'm not mistaken, she said that there was a window on the east side, but we have no windows on the east side. There's windows on the north. There's windows at the rear, at the back on the south, but not on the east. So, and again, they have been quite careful to, and keeping in consideration that they do have the pool. It is heavily forested in the back, as you can see on my pictures of the rear yard on page 2. You'll see it's going. Now, they have a 2-story, so they can overlook on our property. But, you know, we are maintaining and we're keeping that 1-story building, 1-story house. So I respectfully submit that with the garden suite, the way we've positioned it on such an irregularly shaped property, I respectfully submit that, you know, the way we've laid it out, having that 3.82 meter to 3.2 meter setback on the east side will maintain privacy for the neighbors at 18.
All right, thank you. Questions?
Just a quick question, Ms. Evangelista. I think the neighbor meant the window that is in the bathroom facing east. I see a small window in the bathroom, and I was going to ask actually if you're okay to make that opaque because it's overlooking the neighbor's property.
So we do have it on the west. We do have a window on the west side, but yeah, that would be fine. You know, we could do that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. But on the east side, we have no window.
Other questions? All right, thank you, everybody. Let's take this into committee.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if no one else has comments, if anyone wants to talk about it, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm happy to make a motion.
Go ahead.
Okay. I will put forward a motion for approval of this application. I think that it should be not just the variance referred to in the community planning report, but I think that all the variances should be tied to that the property be substantially developed in accordance with the site plan, just to ensure certainty for the neighbors. Subject to condition 2 from forestry. But I think it's a good application. It meets the intent of the OP with respect to the construction of garden suites. And I think that it's well-designed and will have minimal impact on adjacent neighbors. So for those reasons, I put forward the motion.
I think as amended.
As amended?
Sorry, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Just to clarify, there is a recommendation, and you're asking that everything, all the variances are tied to
Yes.
substantially with the site plan.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Because the staff report only recommends certain variances.
And I'm saying
All of the variances.
variances should
Right.
be
Okay,
tied to
thank you.
the site plan.
Substantially in accordance with, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So we've got a motion, second by Ms. Sankar Peralta, thank you. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. The application as amended is approved with condition. All right, we've got 3 more items left for the morning slot. I just take a 5-minute relief break. We will be back at 11:57. All right, everybody. I'm just going to get us moving along. All right, we were on item number 5, moving on to item number 6, 45 McBain Avenue. The purpose of this application is to construct an in-ground pool in the rear yard and an equipment storage in the side yard. Variances for west side yard setback, rear yard setback related to a pool, and east side yard setback to accommodate pool equipment. On file, material from the applicant, 3 letters in support, and an email from Metrolinx. We have our agent with us.
Hi there.
Hi, Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, my name's Alan. I am here on behalf of the clients with Solva Pools. We are the pool contractor for this project.
Your address?
The address, 45 McBain Avenue, our site address for our headquarters, 76 Orenda Road in Brampton, Ontario.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask my colleagues whether they need a presentation from you. I'm seeing heads shake. It looks like we could take this right into committee for a decision for you.
Awesome.
All right, let's take this into committee. Yes, Mr. Kaboo.
If I may make a motion to approve this application, given that for me, it meets the 4 tests in terms of desirability. It requires small variances and support modest intensification, and it is minor in nature. So I will make a motion for us to support this application at this time.
All right, do I have a seconder? Second by Mr. Masiari. All in favor? That is unanimous. That application is approved. No condition.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, item number 7, 242 Glen Park Avenue. The purpose of this application is to construct a new dwelling. Variances for deck setback to an east side lot line, front porch, balcony encroachment into a front yard setback and side yard setback, lot coverage, number of stories, main wall height, main pedestrian entrance height, building length, and east side yard setback. On file, material from the applicant, memo from Urban Forestry, and a letter of concern from 240 Glen Park Avenue. All right, let's get our agent or applicant, Mr. Romano.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the panel. Franco Romano, Action Planning, 321 Lakeshore.
All right, Mr. Romano, we'll get the clock up. Going to ask for a brief presentation from you.
Absolutely. If staff can bring up my presentation slides, please. That'd be terrific. Excellent. Thank you kindly. So on slide 1, you'll see on the upper part of the slide, north is towards the right-hand side of the slide, and Glen Park Avenue is on the, Glen Park Avenue is on the left-hand part of the slide, and north is on the right-hand part of the slide. So the site's on the north side of Glen Park Avenue, and we'll see the subject site in the lower left-hand corner. It's an existing bungalow. Both properties on either side of the subject site have below-grade garages, and what you'll see on the site plan is that the existing site development has a building that is actually longer than what is being proposed. It's 18.5 meters in length, plus a garage in the backyard. The garage is to be demolished, and the proposal is to construct a new conventionally 2-story, but it's 3-story because the basement counts as the first story. The existing lot coverage is 44.4%, including the garage, and the proposal is to reduce that, and I'll speak to that shortly. On slide number 2, we'll see, thank you, staff, we'll see that the surrounding area is developed with a mixture of dwellings that have slightly sloped roofs and also flat roofs. 244 Glen Park, which is to the west, is shown in the upper left. And that first floor elevation is slightly, is essentially the same as the pedestrian entrance that's being proposed. You'll see that has a below-grade garage. We'll see flat roofs, 3-story construction, including the basement or even above, is quite common. Even in this condition, 3 stories as a variance is quite common. And we'll see that buildings of various typologies are found within the same block, and even on the next block. If we go to slide number 3, the upper left-hand photograph is still within the same block, and the other photographs are of dwellings on the adjacent block, so the block next door. Again, building heights, very common, wall heights, finished first floors, and the dwelling features are extremely common with what is being proposed here. On slide number 4, we'll see that shaded in blue within the immediate context, so the same block and the block opposite. Properties with building setbacks less than 0.9 meters are quite common. 78% of properties have a side yard setback less than the 0.9, and that includes actually the subject property and next door at number 240, which has 77 centimeters. On the next slide, slide 5, we'll see in terms of lot coverage, 53% of properties have, within the immediate context, have a lot coverage larger than 35%, and 30% have greater than 40%. That doesn't include the subject property. The subject property currently is at 44%. The proposal is for 40.6%, and that includes the deck. So the deck is 6.4%, and that's why it's at 40.6%. So I would submit that in terms of the side yard setback, I know the neighbor to the east at 240 indicated some concerns with that. The proposal is maintaining the existing curb cut. The garage is on the left-hand side or the west side of the subject site, and that is next to the closest below-grade garage component. So that's why we're trying to minimize the excavation, and that's why we have the side yard setback on the east side, and it is an undersized lot. It's only 7.62 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires 9 meters, but it's an existing lot of record, so that complies with the bylaw. So I submit that the variance request is minor in nature, and happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I just want to go back to one of your slides indicating side yard setbacks that are less than 0.9 meters. Of those, are there...
4, staff.
Sorry?
I was just helping staff that it's slide number 4.
Yes, that's correct, slide number 4. So I'm just curious, are there any properties specifically within that go as low as 0.6? Are we looking?
Yes, the range is actually at 0.05 meters to less than 0.9. So if we go from right to left, we'll see that number 246 is less than 0.6. Number 262, number 264, number 266, number 272, number 276 on the west side, number 278. So those are just on the north side of Glen Park. They're all smaller than 0.6.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Other questions? Ms. Casson.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Romano, you didn't include a similar exercise for building length. Are there building length variances in the vicinity?
Yes, there are. So the if we go back up to the first slide, staff, please. Just right off the bat, we'll see that the existing site today is developed, and appreciate it's only 1 story, but it's developed at 18.5 meters. So that's an existing condition. It's not a variance. It was an existing condition prior to the 2013 bylaw. Same thing with number 240 next door. We'll see that number 240 is in excess of the 17 meters. It's closer to 18 and 18.3 meters. And the proposed variance is only for the upper floor. The first floor and the basement are at 16.99 meters. If we go to, actually, we can't see it on the drawings themselves, but we'll see that number 322 Glen Park, which I have a photograph of, is at 19.03 meters. And on the site plan, we'll see some other examples. I think 245 Glen Park was at 17.4 meters. 247 Glen Park also has a variance for building length. So those are all in the immediate context.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, other questions? Okay, thank you. All right, let's take this into committee. Yes, Mr. Marziari.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I think it's a supportable application. I don't have any issue with any of the variances. I think it meets the 4 tests. I had a bit of concern with the rear deck, but I think adding a privacy screen is actually making it more mass at the back. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application with the urban forestry condition.
It's urban forestry number 3, I think.
Yes.
All right. Do I have a, oh, Ms. Sankar Peralta, is that a second or a comment? That's a second. Second by Ms. Sankar Peralta. All in favor? That is unanimous. That application is approved with condition, urban forestry number 3.
Thank you kindly, appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well.
Thanks.
All right. Last item of the morning slot, number 8, 22 Danino Avenue. The purpose of this application is to increase the height and number of stories. Oh, no. Wrong file. The purpose of the application is to alter the existing one-story detached dwelling by constructing a second-floor addition, a rear addition, and front addition. Variances for front yard setback, encroachment of a deck above a garage into a side yard setback, as well as front yard setback, building length, platform encroachment into a front yard setback, side main wall, height, lot coverage, side yard setback from a north lot line and south lot line, stair encroachment into a front yard setback and front yard soft landscaping, and lastly, driveway width. On file, material from the applicant, report from community planning, a memo from Ravine Natural Forestry Protection, a report from TRCA, 6 letters of concern from 1520 26 Danino Avenue, the York Mills Valley Association, and 49 Donwoods Drive, as well as a petition with around 14 signatures from area residents specifically related to variance 1 concerning the proposed front yard setback. Welcome.
Good afternoon, committee. Jonathan Benskowski, 301 Keewatin Avenue.
All right. Any changes to the application?
Yes, as per the staff report, we will be increasing the front yard soft landscaping to 65%. And if meritorious, we are fine with the staff condition of tying it to the site plan. That's, excuse me, that's been submitted to the 65%.
Very well, 65%. That's
Correct,
right.
Mr.
Variance
Chair.
number 11.
Correct. Yes, correct.
All right. We do have some opposition to this. I'd like to hear a presentation.
Absolutely. Could we first bring up just the notice of the hearing? So of the 12 variances that are before you, essentially 9 of them relate to the existing condition of the dwelling today. So everything that relates to a front yard setback, a stair encroachment, the front deck setbacks, as well as the side yard setbacks out of the rear are all an existing condition. And regardless of the outcome of the hearing today, those will remain. Okay, so essentially what we're here for in a nutshell is the main wall height, coverage, okay, and the landscaping that we've just reduced. All of the other 9 are the exact condition of the property today and will remain, again, regardless. If we could now go to my support material. If we could start on slide 2. Sorry, slide 3. On slide 3, I've taken a picture of the survey. 2 or 3 is fine. This is, again, showing the existing conditions of where those setbacks sit, and also in relation to where those setbacks sit to the adjacent dwellings. So the adjacent dwelling to the north has two structures on the property itself. It has a detached garage that we kind of see in the top right corner there, as well as a detached house that we don't see. So if we look at that detached garage setback, we see a 0.17 meter. Again, reflective of what we see within the neighborhood. What's interesting here to note is the house to the south is set immensely far back from the street, but the garage essentially matches, is actually closer to Danino than the existing garage of the subject property. And again, that's also reflective of most of the dwellings along Danino here. What's also a common theme along Danino we see here is these stairs that come down and project to the garage. There's an extreme slope along Danino here as we go towards the rear yards on this side of Danino, and I'll get there further on in my presentation. So what I wanted to just highlight here again is these existing setbacks of where it sits, and also there's quite a large boulevard, as we see here, of about 8.01 meters from the property line to the street line. So there, even though we're speaking of a zero setback, again, for the stairs, which exists as it is today, as we see there, there is still room to the actual street itself. Could we go to the next slide, please? So one of the variances before you today is for the building length. Again, that building length exists there today, exactly where it is. The proposed addition is to the front and the rear. Now, if we look at the green in the top left corner, that addition is actually recessed behind the existing rear wall of the dwelling, okay? The front addition is now taking into account the building length, but that's really irrelevant because the existing garage is structurally connected to the house. It's already forms the building length at 18.98 meters. So again, that building length, the variance, exists there today on the property itself. If we could go to the next slide, please. So what we tried to do here is show a couple of things. Again, we see the extreme slope as it comes from the front to the rear of the property. There's two things I wanted to highlight here that's going to relate to the fractured front yard setback of the dwellings and where they sit on Danino really throughout it. That green area there is the projection of the main wall of the dwelling. So that green portion is where the adjacent dwelling starts, is at the front. And at the rear, as we go all the way to the left of the screen, and I think that's 9.34, the existing dwelling adjacent to it extends 9.34 meters to the rear of this existing dwelling. And remember, that the rear wall of the subject property is not being altered. That is staying exactly where it is. If we could go to the next slide, please. So lastly, just to show the impact of that main wall height, how it sits, the actual main wall height as it sits in the rear wall is 6.38 meters. So that is what the adjacent neighbor would see. And remember, the adjacent neighbor extends that almost 9, I believe it was around 9 meters from the previous slide. So the impact of the increase in that main wall height is really mitigated by the slope of the land, which again leads to essentially a walkout first floor of the house. So that impact is severely mitigated again by the slope of the land. If we could continue to the next slide, please. If we could just zoom out a bit. Yeah, please. So the subject property is the one highlighted in green. What you don't see on here, this is all from city mapping. I can tell you the front yard setbacks are accurate, the lot sizes are accurate, within about a foot for eave overhangs and things like that. What you don't see here is the adjacent garage of the property next to it. But what you do see is the front yard setbacks of what exists along Donino here. What we don't see is a consistent front yard setback. We see dwellings pushed forward. We see dwellings pushed to the rear. The other thing we see that's interesting is the variation in the lot sizes due to the irregularity at the rear. So in terms of the coverage of what is being proposed before you today, this is technically the smallest lot on Donino, again, because of how it slopes at the rear. Taking into account that, again, the dwelling is only proposed at 15.64 meters in length, okay, with, again, the existing setbacks being maintained. If we could go to the next slide, please. I tried something different here. I tried to relate the houses themselves with the pictures. I don't know if it came out exactly how I wanted it to, but what I wanted to, again, show particularly is the projection that exists between the fifth house, the one in the middle, and the adjacent house on the left. Now, if we go down through the next series of slides, it becomes a little bit more evident. Just keep going. And This was also really to show the relationship of everybody having, right there, that's perfect. That's perfect. Again, so we see the projection of that newer house, which had an approved coverage at 42.69% to the adjacent dwelling. But again, what we see on every house along this side of Denino is a deck on top of the garage. Because of the slope of the land, that's really the only amenity space you have in the front yard, is really by way of the deck.
Just be mindful of the clock.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like it reset or it's going in the wrong direction, or if I've gone over.
We're over.
Okay, then that's. I was looking at it wondering. I'm going, it's going in the wrong direction now. Okay.
No, I'm just wondering. So, it's a very unique. It's a very unique street, and this particular side of the street is unique in that you have the elevation change towards the back. You have the garages which extend into the front yard setback, and to your submission, all of those garages have terraces on the back.
Correct.
Now, those garages along this side of the street on Denino, they delineate the front yard setback because they're part of the building structure. To your point, they're connected to the building. But I think in this case, it might be fair to suggest that there's a second datum line with respect to the front yard setback, and that perhaps might relate to the main wall itself, separate from the garage. Which is where my question's going.
Yeah, no, I was going somewhere with that, and I just ran out of time. But I'm sure.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm sure it'll come out in this question, or I'll make it come out in the question.
I think there's a property, a relatively new property. I think only 2 or 3 doors over. That's the one, and it's a pretty big massing.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm curious is there any delineation in terms of a setback as it relates to the front main wall? Take away the garage for a second, because they're really just one-story structures that kind of project.
Yes, correct. So 2 parts of that are in there, and I will get that number. It may take me a couple of minutes just to bring it up.
Yeah, no problem.
But in terms of the delineation of the front yard setback as it relates to the streetscape and how it dominates it, this is the first property on this stretch of Denino as you kind of come down that curve. And again, you have the adjacent garage, and it's actually my first picture. If you go into my first picture here, I tried to illustrate what you would see and how it would look from the streetscape. So if we just go back up to my first picture in this set, yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect right there. So this is essentially taken from almost the crest where you see the 1-story. I mean, I'm loud enough. I think it'll pick it up. Where you see the 1-story projection there of the garage, and then the existing dwelling is behind it. So 2 things. One, you can see it's heavily treed. Right? Those are year-round trees. So again, the impact of that being pushed forward as you come around the crest, because as you can see, that portion there is actually curved on Denino. So the impact of that wall projecting forward, and again, remembering that today it still projects considerably forward from the adjacent dwelling. And because of the site constraints towards the rear, with the grade changes, it being a TRCA area, there really isn't an opportunity for any type of development at the rear. But I will get you that, Mr. Chair, if you don't want to just bear with me for 1 second.
Yeah, sure. We might be able to pick it up as well.
If we just go to the site plan.
Sure.
So it's about 4.37 meters on the angle. If we go up to just at the angled portion there at the corner. It would be a little bit more as we come down, okay? Because again, that 4.37 is to the angle. So maybe about 4.5 to 5. But again, if we look, the adjacent garage, as we see there, is basically pushed right up to the front. And I think the actual impact, again, as we see here with the adjacent house next to it pushed so far back, the actual impact of an addition to the front is really negligible to that individual. It's already there. It's not going to move.
What's negligible?
The impact of the addition at the front
Right.
I mean, for myself, it would be a greater impact to the rear, because as I showed you in that elevation picture, that house extends so far behind it, that almost 8 or 9 meters, I can't remember the number, but it was 8 or 9 meters that extends past the rear wall. The greater impact would be in addition to the rear of the adjacent dwelling.
All right.
Again, keeping in mind that you're on the crest of the road with kind of that one-story pitched roof garage adjacent to you that's pushed right up to the property line.
All right, okay, understood. Question?
Yes. Through you, Mr. Chair, if we could pull up I'm not sure which page it was, the one we had up originally with the 2 dwellings on it, showing the newer house with that's closer to the street?
The third picture in the photos. There it is.
There, that one.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm just thinking, the proposed addition to the front of this property, the massing of it in terms of what it will look like from the street is going to look more like that newer house in terms of how it basically projects out into the front yard as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Ms. Casson, yes and no. In terms of the projection coming out, yes, but the massing is actually less. That reads as a 3-story. This reads as a true 2-story. So that massing on the left comes out as 3 stories, basically, whereas the proposed one before you comes out as 2 stories. But again, with the projection being that, yes.
So, yeah, and massing was probably the wrong
Yes.
word. I should have used front wall.
Yes,
The front
yes.
wall impact to
Correct,
me
correct.
is very similar. Okay,
But again, mitigated by this being mid-block.
Yes.
The proposal being the first house on a crest. As you turn around, you're turning away from the house itself.
right. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? All right. Okay, we've got some other speakers. Anybody here to speak to this? Welcome. Please come on down, give us your name and address, sir.
Mr. Chair, before we commence, I just want to clarify, no changes were made to the application.
There was, actually.
there was?
Variance number 11 was amended. It was an increase to the soft landscaping to 65%, in line with the staff report, correct? Welcome. Your name and address, please.
Yes, I was going to say good morning, but it's now afternoon.
Yes.
My name is Robert Torrens. My wife and I own the property at 49 Donwoods Drive. Ours is a corner lot, so we are actually directly across the street. The front of our house is directly across the street from 22 Donino. And we are accordingly one of the owner's properties most directly affected by the requested minor variances which are the subject of this meeting. Although the current house at 22 Donino is described in the application as a 1-story detached dwelling, it appears from the street as 2 full stories above the existing garage. Given the fact that the house is constructed on a slope, it is already of imposing height from the perspective of the street and of our house. We are concerned about the requested variances both from the perspective of our property and the property of our neighborhood. Although some of the requested variances may be minor, at least 3 of them do not appear to be minor, namely numbers 1, 7, and 11. Variance number 7 requests a lot coverage of 38.4% compared to the maximum coverage permitted by the bylaw of 30%, which to my mind is in no way a minor variance. Combined with the increased height and forward thrust requested, it would produce a massive structure overhanging the street, which is out of character in our neighborhood. Also of concern is variance 11, which requires a front yard soft landscaping area of 58% as opposed to the 75% required by the bylaw. Our neighborhood is known for trees and grassy areas, which the 75% requirement ensures. It is accordingly important not to reduce the soft landscaping mandated by the bylaw. Granting this variance would set a very negative precedent in terms of the character of our neighborhood, which we and our neighbors on Donino cherish. The variance of most concern, however, is number 1. On June the 19th, I delivered to Ms. Tohidi, the application technician for the committee, a copy of a document signed by the owners of 13 properties on Donino Avenue, and Donwoods Drive, requesting that the requested variance number 1 be denied. I also understand that the Development Committee of the York Mills Valley Association has submitted a letter also requesting that this be denied. I and the neighbors who signed that document are concerned with the extension of the front of the house out over a significant portion of the existing garage. The variance requested for the proposed front yard setback of 1.26 meters, which is based on the current garage as opposed to the 9.16 meters, which is required by the bylaw. The key issue is the setback of the front facade of the proposed structure, not the nominal setback of the existing garage. This, to our mind, is in no way a minor variance and would have a very negative impact on our property and constitute an unfortunate precedent in terms of the development or redevelopment of other properties on Donino Avenue, which have similar extended garages. So I respectively request that the application be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? All right. Thank you. No questions. Staff, we have some speakers online.
We do, Mr. Chair. Next, we'll go to Caroline.
Hello?
Hello. We can hear you. Caroline, you muted yourself.
Okay.
There
Am
we
I
go.
okay now?
Yes.
All right, I won't touch my computer. Anyways, let's get on with this. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Members of the committee, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my concerns today. My name is Caroline Ulilawama. My address is 20 Donino Avenue, directly beside 22. My husband and my family have lived here for over 35 years, and I speak before you not as a lawyer or a real estate expert, but as a wife, mom, grandma, and a businesswoman who cherishes the natural light and green views from my home. I am expressing my concerns regarding the proposed plans for this large increase addition of a second story, which poses an impact to our home and our neighborhood. Our neighbors also share many concerns, as you will hear. To squeeze a previous 1,400 square foot home into a 45,000 square foot home is a lot. However, I want to bring to your attention something that does impact us greatly. I feel like we are going to be squished out of our house. Unfortunately, the current requested proposal obstructs the views from, we have 2 north-facing windows, and they're going to block crucial light and the lush ravine greenery that surrounds us and for which Hogs Hollow is known for. My kitchen window, it's the core of my home where we cook and we clean and we wash dishes. Well, actually, my husband washes dishes. we don't use a dishwasher. But again, given the solitary small window above the sink, the potential loss of natural light and outdoor beauty, plus in the wintertime, I get the North York skyline. That would be so disheartening. And, the proposed variances would yield a blank wall. Like, how would you like to be in a kitchen with a blank wall? Adversely, this does affect our quality of life, which really ought to be warm and nurturing, especially when you're cooking. Second one is our home office, which is straight above the kitchen window. Our home office will again be affected. The planned second story would completely obstruct our views, which are essential for both productivity and peace of mind. The views of Hogs Hollow while you're working makes your work go much, much, much faster. I've got several that I'm not versed at this, so I do apologize for my lack of knowledge. This is the first time I've ever been involved in this kind of a thing, so I'm trying to do my best. And my biggest concerns, I think, are number 2, which is the deck setback from the north side. This reduced setback will obstruct light and views from our north-facing windows. The closer proximity of the deck will create privacy concerns and diminish the openness of the space, giving it a sense of closure around the home. Number 6, again, you've got the height of the walls. This impact increases by 0.48 meters. It's going to overshadow our property and again significantly obstruct light and views from our north-facing windows. Number 7, as Bob had currently mentioned, the lot allowance, 30% to 38%. That's something that it's like a 22% increased lot, which is, and that doesn't even cover the decks and the landings. And I think one of my biggest things here is it's number 9. I got confused with number 8 and 9, with north and south, but this both adds up to 39% on the north side and 42% on the south side. And that is, that's a lot. I think that, I think those are my biggest concerns, the 8 and 9. And even on number 10, which I didn't touch on, was that where the stairs are going to be, that it's just going to be 0 meters from that. So that's going to be very close to us. And I don't know, I just sometimes think that I'm a little concerned that our neighbor doesn't fully appreciate the value of this incredible green space that does surround us. And, after he purchased his home in the wintertime, come spring, he actively removed all vegetation, cutting limbs, burning them openly, and completely obliterating all greens, like beautiful climbing hydrangeas and cascading ivies that serve as natural privacy barriers and as our fencing. And now with all that gone, all our privacy is gone. So it seems to be there's a lack of there's not consideration for our neighbors, and it's very intrusive. And I think in this day and age, our natural light is not a luxury. It's crucial for our well-being. It affects our mood, our energy levels, and even our health. I think the lush green views that I've enjoyed over the years contribute to my happiness and peace of mind. And I mean, I understand that compromise must be made, but I also really ask the committee to please reconsider the proposed setbacks and explore alternative solutions that protect and preserve our natural views, organic light, and the character of a neighborhood. It's crucial to preserve the integrity of Hobbs Hollow and maintained in character for current and future residents. So that's what I have to say for now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Question.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just have one question for the resident. Whereabouts is your kitchen and office located in your house? Is it at the front or the rear?
No, it's on the side. It's on the north side, or sorry, it's on the south side. This is where I always get. That's why I'm on the
That's
south
okay.
side.
So the southwest side of your building?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, thank you. We have another speaker.
Hello?
Hello.
Am I on?
You are.
Okay, I'm Vico von Steding. I live at 26 Donino, which is the property immediately to the north of 22. It's the one with the garage that's in proximity to the property line, detached garage. And just as a matter of note, that garage setback is determined as our lot. Our so-called frontage on Donino is actually by the building department determined as our side lot line. So it was, the requirements were a little different. However, do we have, if you can scroll down, I'm going to try to cut this short as much as possible. If you can scroll down to, keep going. There is that one. And I want to be able to see. This one shows zoom in a bit. Okay, if you look towards the bottom of the screen, or at least the way I'm looking at it, there is a little blue line between the front of the house, which is at number 16, which is that brand new, well, not brand new, the new construction, I don't remember exactly when it was built, 2015, 16. It has a 9-meter, just over 9-meter front yard setback, which is that blue line. The original garage of the house is exactly to the south or below that blue line. They were not permitted to build further forward. Now, if you take the next slide, there, stop. The blue line on 22 Donino is, as I believe, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name, the architect for the 22. That line shows the setback of the front facade of the house from the street line, which is around just over 4 meters, 4.2 or something like that. It's about half or less than the one at number 16. If you now scroll down, if you can scroll down, yes, that one, but zoom out a bit so we can see the whole. That is number 16 Donino. That facade is more than 9 meters setback from the face of the garage. No, that may not be correct. It's certainly more than 9 meters away from the front lot line. It is well set back from the street. And if you go to the next picture, if you can just scroll down a bit. Yeah, that little tiny one, and then zoom up, zoom out a little bit more. There you go. This is a typical backyard on Donino, on this stretch of Donino, which shows that there is very little opportunity to build back into the hill. There is opportunity, the only opportunity to increase the footprint is really to go forward. I might note that 22 Donino is probably the only or one of the only properties along that stretch that actually has tableland behind it and not ravine. And so they have a pool there and they have all sorts of things that these other properties couldn't have. Now, sorry, drop down one bit. Next picture. No. Well, this one I can just say, yeah, stop. I just want to comment on this one. It was mentioned that the subject property is on the corner. It's not really. It's if you zoom in on that picture, the subject property is straight down the line. Oh, yeah, past that white car that's parked, and it faces straight across the street down at the end of Donino. It's the first house in from the intersection with Donwoods. So it's not quite right that you wouldn't see the front facade because you're coming in around the corner. Just want to point that out. Now, if you could pop up a little bit more. Again. No, down below, next picture. Okay, I think it's the next picture then. I want the one, there is one with the properties lined up. There we go. Okay. So if you can just scroll up slightly so that you see the little blue dots for all the properties. The blue dots are placed more or less centered on each garage, whether they're new construction or original construction. If you start from the top, our property is number 26, triangular shape, and the garage is close to the lot line, but as I mentioned, that's actually a side yard line, not a front yard. 22 Donino follows with the garage protruding. Now you can see that that house is already well forward of all the other houses on the street, including number 16, the new construction. 20 Donino is the next one. That's the one Caroline was talking about. Number 18, which is the one with the little dormers on, that is interesting because it was actually added on to create a 2 or 3 story building. The garage was maintained and the front yard setback was not substantially altered. That was achieved without having to extend the footprint.
Sir, just be mindful of your time.
Yeah, sure. Okay, and then 16, which is the one we talked about. and then as we go. So all the blue dots are the property, are the garages. What we don't want to see is the property at 22 Donino that projects halfway forward, halfway across the garage or over the garage, which will set a horrible precedent for all the other properties facing Donino on the west side. If they, I mean, 16, we're not allowed to project further out forward. And I don't see why that should be, this should be an exception, especially given the location of the house and the garage and the relatively small lot that it's on. So that's it. Just
I'm going to have to wrap you there. Sounds like you just wrapped up. All right. I'm going to ask if we have any questions at this time. No. All right. We'll get our agent back.
Thank you, committee. A couple of things just off the bat. The individual here across the street spoke of the height being of imposing, that the height is as of right. There's no request for a height before you today. It's for a main wall height. Again, largely just due to the shape of the lot, the topography of the lot, where average grade is taken from with the adjacent house of who we just spoke with. So a lot of that is that, and again, you did show a picture of the rear of what a typical house on Donwoods looks like. That's exactly what is being proposed before you today, is essentially a two-story walkout dwelling. I wanted to address the coverage. Again, this is the smallest lot on this portion of Donwoods. The only variance really before you that contributes to the coverage would be the building length. And that building length is mitigated by the house only being 15.69 meters in length, well below the 17 meters. Again, that 18.98 takes into account the entirety of the garage, which again, as we see, is set about a little bit over 10 feet in front of the front proposed main wall. There was some discussion with Caroline, who I spoke to on the phone. I actually thought, through you, Mr. Chair, Ms. Caston's question, actually, if we could bring up that picture, adjacent to that dwelling, there's basically a bungalow top-up happening. It's just a second story. That is, if we can go to the picture of that Caroline had of her views from the pictures, I didn't see any pictures of the actual house, which tells us that her kitchen in that other area is behind the existing rear wall of 22 Donino, which is being maintained. It's just essentially, yes, these pictures here. I don't actually really see the house in the picture, again, which tells me there, I think it's the bottom if you go down. Yes. So it's essentially a bungalow top-up, what is happening next door. And again, I don't see the house there. So that tells me that those windows are actually behind the existing rear wall, which is to be maintained, again, with a second story, again, with that main wall height at the rear, because of the grade change, only being my apologies, just give me 1 sec. 6.38 meters at the rear. So again, the rear main wall height here with a sloped roof is at 6.38 meters. The setbacks are all existing. Again, the house is proposed to have the addition built in line. To address the front yard, if we could go to one of the overheads, maybe the lot patterning I showed. Again, with the location of this dwelling on the street, with the amount of vegetation that's adjacent to the detached garage, which again is pushed right onto the street essentially, the impact of this coming forward severely mitigated by those facts. Yes, right there. So again, as you're coming down, you're going to be coming on that angle of the adjacent dwelling. So again, that streetscape when you're entering Donino, and frankly, when you're leaving Donino, is not going to change that much. This is a 10-foot front addition that is being proposed, and we can already see there's an impact of that. In my opinion, as I spoke to earlier, the greater impact would be a rear addition to the adjacent dwellings. Again, in my opinion, this is appropriate. Again, as I said, really, 9 of the 12 variances are essentially technical in nature. And I do want to just make one last point. The request that is before you is not technically for the setback of the house. Those are all for the setbacks of the existing garage. Thank you.
All right. Questions? All right. Yes, Mr. Margera.
Question, so what is the front yard setback to the new addition?
4.37. If we go to the site plan, to the pinch point at the angle is 4.37 meters. Probably around 4.7 when we're not on the angle. If we go up to the top right. Yeah, right there. And again, we also have the addition of that boulevard in front of it that also mitigates and adds the green space of I believe it was around 6 or 8 meters, an 8-meter boulevard that's there also.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to find out if there was any sound study carried out, when I was hearing from the neighbor about the sound and the light, was there any sound study carried out?
No, but in this instance, it's really a second floor addition that's adjacent to the neighbor. That's it. It's really just a top up of a bungalow. And when I spoke with Caroline, that was one of the things I said. I said, listen, you're very lucky to have lived next to a bungalow for all of these years. You know, it's really a one-story dwelling that's adjacent. That's at 22 Donino today. It's one story. I said, you're really lucky to have had that. Essentially, it's a bungalow top up that's adjacent. It's really just a second story with, again, no extension of the rear main wall or a reduction of the setback. That's all existing.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take this into committee. Lots to discuss.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to start the conversation.
Yes.
I think this property is, I understand the residents' concerns. This property is a bit of an outlier, given its position, but it's existing. And I think that the proposal to sort of fill it in pieces, pull it to the front, fill in that corner in the rear, is pretty sensitive to the neighborhood. And I agree with the applicant that a rear addition to add more square footage to the property and/or a new house on the property would probably have more impact than what is being proposed today. And I understand the front yard setback being an issue and the residents being concerned about it setting a precedent. I would be concerned about that too, but I mean, we have to look at each application on its own merits. So, and given the very wide boulevard in this case, the perceived setback is not as impactful, I don't think, as if it were, you know, a normal sized boulevard in the rest of the city that we typically see. But this, you know, this neighborhood is characteristic of fairly narrow roads, but apparently the right of way is quite large. So anyway, I think that it's pretty sensitive, and I think the variances are pretty minor, given that the majority of them are to the existing structure. So there's not a lot you can do about those. It's just whether it's appropriate to pull the house forward. I think that is the biggest impact, in my opinion, but I don't have a concern with it personally.
That's what I'm struggling with. For me, it comes down to the first variance. I think one of the neighbors did a really good job. There was some diagrams that were presented to show the fact that on this side of the street, they're all existing garages that pull right into the front yard setback. But what was helpful for me was the delineation of the actual house that's set back beyond the main wall that we're not seeing come up in the variances because it's the garages that are triggering it. So while I don't necessarily, I don't have a concern with respect to approving, an existing condition with respect to the garage, I think where I struggle is, what we're really approving is that 4.37 to 4.7 meter setback on the front main wall, where I look at the other property 2 or 3 doors down, which is, I think, similar in terms of massing, in terms of what's proposed, and that's over 9 meters from the street. So I think it's tough. I mean, this house already sits significantly further forward than any of the other houses on the street. You know, I understand there's a challenge of a lot, but it is the smallest lot on the street, and there was a submission made that, you know, the backyard of this property, tableland, I think was the phrase used, so it was useful property, where some of the other lots that look like they have considerable depth in the backyard, that space may not necessarily be usable. So, yeah, I didn't have any issue with respect to the rear, just because the neighbor adjacency, they're so far away. The house is so far away that I think the impact could be mitigated, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that first variance. Curious to see maybe how colleagues feel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with both, actually, my colleagues. I have difficulty at the beginning supporting the first variance, but looking closer to the application, I think it's a sensible proposal. I think with the boulevard, in general, I think it's supportable. I think there is a bit of impact for sure to the neighbors with the front addition, but I think it's minor. And also, I had a bit of, it's a very well-established neighborhood. I had difficulty with supporting the soft landscaping, but I'm happy that the applicant made some revision to that, and I think with the inclusion of permeable pavers, that can also be addressed further. So to me, in general, it's a supportable application.
Other comment, a motion perhaps? See where it goes?
I can make a motion to approve this application as amended, variance number 11 to be increased to 65%. And also, I would add inclusion of permeable pavers for the driveway. And do we have any?
I just noticed on the plan, it says existing driveway to remain. Perhaps some clarification. I'm a little reluctant to support having somebody rip up an existing driveway to replace it. If it's a new driveway, I think supportable, but
I agree.
Would it be okay to
Yeah,
check,
of course.
to maybe come out
I
of committee and check with the applicant on that?
Yes.
You-
I just got up this applicant. Yeah, so it is essentially the existing driveway that is to remain, but again, I think your hand.
Mr. Chair, I can't hear him.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
There you go.
Sorry, Ms. Sanko Peralta. It is the existing driveway essentially to remain in the width. It's not in the best of shape, so invariably will most likely be redone.
Okay.
So,
I think it's an
I mean, I'm really
improvement.
in
I
your
think it's
hands
an
at that, but
improvement. Yeah.
it would most likely be redone because, again, it is not in the best of shape.
Okay. So you're okay with it if we include that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely.
Okay, and also with my motion, I'm going to include the planning staff condition that the front yard setback to be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan.
All right. Seconded by Ms. Sankar Peralta. All in favor? Okay, and Mr. Allison opposed? All right, that motion carries. The application as amended is approved. All right. Okay, that concludes our morning session. The time is now 12:58. We will resume at 2 p.m.